What's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. Well, it looks like the Ward and Kovalev 2 numbers are in as far as pay-per-view numbers and the rematch that will be played on HBO is concerned. So let's get to the good news, I think, to some degree. The good news is that the rematch peaked at 947,000 viewers with the average of 752,000. So that is not bad compared to the fact this actually did more views than the Joshua and Klitschko replay that did over, which peaked at 890,000 views and an average 738 viewers overall. So that's some good news on that front. However, the bad news is that the pay-per-view. Now, the pay-per-view drew only 130,000 buys, which is a little bit significant less than the first fight, which drew over 160,000 buys. Now, 130,000 buys, and what else? I got other information here. Let me look it up here. This is a article from Bloody Elbow. The attendance also was bad. The attendance was bad. Now, according to the author of the article here, the columnist, he's saying the attendance was about 6,700. Now, Dan Raphael reported on his article, about 6,400. Now, Dan Raphael's article reported there was 11,000, close to 11,000 in attendance. Now, the guy who wrote the article, he cited an individual by the name of Jed Goodman, who reported that 6,400 tickets were sold compared to 11,000 over there in the first fight. Now, is it possible that 5,000 tickets were comped for the Ward Kovalev rematch, as Dan Raphael reported there was 11,000 there? I mean, that's a lot of comps to be throwing around like that. Is it possible? Maybe, but I don't know. We need to get the actual confirmation of the tickets that was actually sold. So I need to go ahead and try to see if I can cross-reference any other information on it, because as of right now I couldn't, because there's only one source right here and I need to cross-reference that. So now, if it does stand as far as the tickets sold is concerned and the pay-per-view buys, the biggest loser of all this is Sergey Kovalev, okay? Now, he's going to take a major hit from this, because he wasn't guaranteed any money for this. He was getting 75% of the gate revenue and the what else? And the pay-per-view buys. Okay? Not only 75% goes to him, but I think his promoter takes about 20%, his manager takes about 15%, and his trainer, John David Jackson, takes 10%. So he's not getting a high seven-figure payday, as Kathy Duva has pointed out. Now, if these numbers stand, okay? Now, Ward, on the other hand, is getting a guaranteed $6.5 million purse. However, he's not getting any pay-per-view back end. So let's get that cleared, okay? He's not getting any back end money from this. So, okay, fine. That's fair enough to Kovalev to some degree. However, he's not getting a pay-per-view points. Not pay-per-view. He is getting pay-per-view points, but he's not getting any guaranteed dollars for this. So that's this is very terrible news for Sergey. And to be honest with you, I thought this pay-per-view would do much less than this, to be honest with you, given the fact it was poorly promoted, or the lack of promotion. I expected to do at least 100,000, but 130,000 did beat my expectations, even though it's still not a good number. But, given the fact this was poorly promoted, still 100,000, 30,000 people bought the pay-per-view, including me. Now, I see the Golovkin fans going out there and rejoicing this story that the pay-per-view and the gate revenue was pretty bad, okay? Now, I like to point out that the Golovkin and Jacobs fight was heavily promoted. Well, I'm not saying it was heavily promoted. It was much more promoted than this fight, and that took a big hit. They could barely drew 150 to 160,000 buys on that one, given all the marketing dollars they spent on that fight. And I also find it amazing that Golovkin got over 1 million followers on Twitter, 1 million followers on Instagram, and yet he still can't crack over 200,000 buys. Now, what is wrong with that picture? And Andre Ward got at least about, he has about over 100 and maybe about 200,000 followers or so forth. He averages roughly around there, 200, 300,000 followers on social media. So you tell me what the fuck is wrong with that picture. You got Golovkin, who's got way more of a following on social media than Andre Ward, and yet he can't barely crack. He almost cracks almost the same numbers as Ward does. And and this fight with Ward was badly promoted. And let's not get it twisted that main events, when they were the lead promoters of the first fight, they did a poor job on promoting that fight as well. I didn't see anybody go out there and slam them like they slam Rock Nation. Now, let's be fair though, Rock Nation, this is their first pay-per-view slot, okay? They actually had one successful pay-per-view when they were the lead promoters of I think Cotto and Canelo. I think were they the lead promoters of that fight? Yeah, they were the lead promoters. They were the lead promoters of that fight, and that did extremely well. Now, the difference with this particular fight with Cotto Canelo versus now, as I was saying, the Cotto Canelo fight didn't really take too much hard work to promote because you already had two fighters who were crossover stars, and they were well-known names to the casuals, particularly the Latino demographic. So that's a difference opposed to these two, Kovalev and Ward, because these guys are not pay-per-view stars, they're not crossover stars. So it was expected that both of their pay-per-view fights are going to flop. Okay, now again, the biggest loser from all this is Sergey Kovalev, and it's sad that the fact that he's going to take a big hit, significant hit, given the fact that he went through a very tough and probably the much more difficult fight than he had in the first fight with Andre Ward. All right, and he got shafted over this. He didn't even get a seven. Basically, let's be honest, he's not getting a seven-figure payday from this. Not at all, based off the fact that these numbers are going to stand the way they are. All right. Now again, it is what it is. Pay-per-view flop, which was expected, so it was not to anyone's surprise. But the only surprise was it did above my expectations, because I expected it to do at least 100,000 buys, but 130,000, given the fact it was poorly promoted, poorly promoted. Damn, that's still kind of incredible given this day and age of social media. Well, not exactly social media. This day and age of video streaming and all that. So, I can say that I actually paid for the fight to support Andre Ward. All right, but my thing is, where were the Kovalev supporters? Okay, where were these guys? Why didn't they buy the pay-per-view? I mean, if they care about the guys so much, and they were rooting behind them, why didn't they purchase the pay-per-view? Same thing with the Golovkin and Jacobs pay-per-view. Why didn't they purchase it? So, yeah, just that's very, I don't know, that's a very odd pattern of a behavior right there when it comes to these guys. But it is what it is. So, let me know what your thoughts about the pay-per-view numbers and the gate revenues. Now, again, the gate revenues is still a bit questionable because, again, there's two conflicting reports that Dan Raphael reports that 11,000 tickets were sold. Well, actually, he didn't report that the tickets were sold, but he said 11,000 people were there. And then you have another individual saying that only 6,400 tickets were sold. So 5,000 of those were pre-comped. That's a lot of comps. But anyways, let me know your thoughts about this, and let me know if you have any more information on this. I'm out.